Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Please send me your questions via email. It's Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com, or you can call or text me 949-415-6256. I'll get back to you guys. Also, all the social networks. You know the drill by now. And if you don't and you're new, welcome. Thank you. Make sure you subscribe if you think the content's good. Whether you're on YouTube or the blog, just subscribe. There's benefits to both. So just do both, alright? They're both free. Got nothing to lose. So today, I'm going to do a video on what it takes to get a brand new research site off the ground. And then I'm going to talk about the industry in general, what pharma and CROs can possibly do to make clinical trials a little easier for clinics to conduct trials. I know pharma and CROs are not in the business of making research necessarily easier for research sites. I understand that. I get that they are the customers for the research sites. But what pharma and CROs should be trying to do is recruiting research naive physicians and get their interest in clinical research, because oftentimes the physicians that are really busy, have a really big private practice, or work at hospitals, and like an ER doctor that has access to all kinds of patients that come through the ER on a daily basis. Those patients, once they're stable, of course, are great candidates for studies. And there's a disconnect between the physicians that just don't have enough time to do research and then the patients that we need in our trials to enroll in our trials. So they're seeing all these patients, but they don't have time to do research. And I think pharma and all of us, actually, research clinics, this is part of our job too, is to demystify clinical research, even when it comes to physicians. I mean, a lot of them really have no clue how clinical research trials work, and it's in our best interest to do that, because we can recruit them to our sites. It's in sponsors' best interest too, because they can recruit them for their studies, and then they can enroll qualified patients into the trials. Patient recruitment is still a huge concern and a big problem when it comes to most clinical studies. I mean, most trials do not enroll on time. They take longer than anticipated, and it's for this exact reason of clinical trial patient participation and recruitment, right? So a brand new research clinic, obviously what you need is a PI. Okay, you cannot be a research clinic and not have a principal investigator, all right? The good news is there are enough studies out there, especially these phase 4 studies, that will accept a PI with no experience, all right? So you're going to have to put in your time. If your PI doesn't have any experience, either as a sub-I, they're going to have to put in their time, and this is where you're going to have to come in and put them together or network with other physicians in your area that are doing research and maybe bring something of value to the table for that clinic. You can approach them and say, hey, I have a clinic, I have a PI, he's got lots of patients, but he doesn't have any research experience, so can we have him be a sub-investigator for you? You can pay him if you want or not, and then he'll also recruit some patients for you. And in exchange, you can kind of teach him the business of how to run a clinical trial, how to be a PI. So you can do enough of that, or you can do just the phase 4 studies. I know so many PIs that got their start doing phase 4 studies, these survey studies, these quality of life studies, that other more experienced PIs were turning down because it was a waste of time for them. Well, for these inexperienced PIs, these are perfect places to get started, right? So you need a PI, then you need a study, then you need a clinic, and this is where you can go one of two ways. You can either use the existing office of the physician, the private practice, right? Or you can rent your own and equip it with everything that the private practice of the physician will have. I actually have a nice, really helpful infographic for people who want to know the bare minimum supplies and equipment they'll need to start a research clinic. So I'm going to include that, or at least a link to that underneath here. And now, as far as financially, here's what a research clinic really needs to get the ball rolling. Okay, you first of all, whoever the owner is or the manager, that's not the PI. Okay, they're gonna have to consider whether they're gonna be the study coordinator or whether they're gonna hire a study coordinator. Right. So it's obviously a lot cheaper if this person's willing to learn the ropes of research, get their hands dirty, and be the coordinator for the studies that you're getting. Okay, it seems really overwhelming, and in fact it is. It's extremely overwhelming, but that's why you just take one study and you learn the process. It's not that complicated once you figure it out, but you have to follow GCP, then you have to follow the protocol. Luckily you have your monitor there. Oftentimes if you're honest with the CRA and say, hey, this is my first study, I'm going to need some hand-holding, a little extra hand-holding with me as opposed to maybe some of your other sites and what you're accustomed to there. I've done that. I've been there before. I got my start back in 2005 full-time as a coordinator, but I've actually worked on these phase 4 quality of life studies and survey studies while I was still in college. So I wasn't exactly inexperienced when I started. Okay, so if you are willing to do the work, you don't need to pay a coordinator until you can afford to. And the good thing is, when you start enrolling patients, right, the study payments start coming in eventually. It'll be a small trickle at first, and then if you just continue being consistent with your enrolling and your randomization, the payments will become more consistent. As long as you know that you're keeping up the activity with enrolling patients and randomizing patients for the study or studies that you have, you know that at least every month you'll at least make X amount. Once you do that and you're comfortable enough with your X, whatever that X is, you can then plan on hiring or budgeting for a experienced study coordinator. An experienced study coordinator, depending on where you are in the country, and I'm going to get a lot of flack from coordinators out there, anywhere from $28,000, yes it is that low, to $90,000. I even want to say $100,000 for some, but those are more site owners or managers who started out as coordinators, and either they own some sites or they work at a big SMO and they just get paid a lot, 6-figure salary when they refer patients, and they do all kinds of stuff. So from 28 to 90, although you'll rarely see a lot of coordinators receiving $90,000, that's the upper extreme. You'll pretty much see anywhere from 40 to 60. I think that's the sweet spot for a yearly salary for a study coordinator. So just giving you a little ballpark of what you can be expecting, all right? And then you got to be consistent about getting these studies, continuing to get the studies flowing through to you, building up your PI's resume, never relying on just one PI. So just because you have one PI, now you need to go out and get another one. Just because you have one study, now you need to go out and get another one. Don't rest on your laurels. You're trying to grow your business. Okay, so that's how you get a site running off the ground. Now there's a lot of things operationally that you have to do as well, which we'll get into in another video, as far as how to manage your regulatory binders and how to create your source documents and who to enter EDC and who to fill out source documents for certain patient visits, and how you break down the overall workflow of a study. We're probably going to do a part 2 to this video. So in the next video of this 2-part or maybe 3-part series, we're going to focus on what the industry can do to make clinical trials a little more easier and run more efficiently, and what the industry can do to enroll more research-naive physicians to get interested in clinical research, at least if not participating as principal investigators, then at least as sub-Is and referring physicians to ongoing studies. That's the best way to tackle this complex issue of patient recruitment when it comes to clinical research studies. We also are going to have to look at reasons why principal investigators who have never done a clinical trial before do their first trial and then end up quitting and never doing research again. And I don't know the exact figure, but it's a very high percentage of PIs who have never done a study, then get their first study, and then never want to do research again. We've got to get that number down. So I think that falls on the shoulders of pharma, CROs, and even research sites especially the larger SMOs out there that are recruiting in physicians. We need to do a better job of training and educating our principal investigators when they do join us on exactly what clinical research is. So I'll do another video just on that, and then I'm going to do another one on technology and kind of how technology can kind of help with some of these things that I just talked about. Okay, so thank you for your questions. Keep them coming. Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.